As a rank 6 premium in the American helicopter tree, the Boeing Sikorsky RAH-66 Comanche is the first, and currently only, stealth helicopter in War Thunder. In this video, I'll go over the history of this interesting helicopter, as well as how to make the most of it in-game. In 1982, the US Army started the Light Helicopter Experimental (LHX) program with the goal of replacing several of their aging helicopters, namely the UH-1 Huey, AH-1 Cobra, OH-6 Cayuse, and OH-58 Kiowa. This was formalized in 1988, and two teams, Boeing Sikorsky and Bell McDonnell Douglas, were given contracts to further work on their projects. In 1991, the Boeing Sikorsky team was awarded a contract for 6 prototypes, later to be reduced to 2. Additionally, the helicopter was now to be named the RAH-66 Comanche. The first prototype was built in 1993, and on the 4th of January 1995, the Comanche took its maiden flight. In 2000, the next phase of the program was initiated, with the US Army maintaining its plans to buy over 1,200 Comanches, and as late as 2003, it was thought that the Comanche would start being delivered on time, in 2006. During testing, the Comanche was shown to have a cruise speed of 300 km an hour, with a maximum speed of 319. It was also remarkably nimble, being able to turn 180 degrees in less than 5 seconds. The Comanche was to be a highly advanced armed reconnaissance and attack helicopter, specifically being tailored to replace the aging OH-58D Kiowa Warrior, which was an upgrade of a Vietnam War-era design. The Comanche was smaller than the AH-64 Apache, which it was built to accompany, with the planned doctrine of using it to designate targets for the Apaches. It was built out of composite materials and covered in radar absorbent and infrared suppressant coatings, which gave it a radar return of 360 times smaller than the Apache. The Comanche was also quieter than other helicopters, with rotor blades made out of special composites. It could carry up to 6 Hellfires or 12 Stingers in internal weapons bays, keeping its radar cross-section low, although if need be, it could forego much of its stealth for wing stub pylons to carry more missiles. It also had a 3-barrel 20mm cannon, which could face backwards and even retract to reduce the RCS. An issue that started to rear its head during the Comanche's development was requirement creep. The Comanche had a lot expected out of it, almost to a ridiculous extent. For example, despite being smaller and much easier to transport via ship, it was also supposed to have enough ferry range to fly itself over the entire Atlantic Ocean. This, along with other reasons, meant that the Comanche was massively overrunning its costs, being projected to consume almost 2/3 of the Army's helicopter budget by 2008. This was also at the same time as the peace dividend, where after the end of the Cold War, the world's militaries were, on average, spending less and less without the looming threat of World War III on the horizon. In 2003, the Army's order was reduced down by around half to just 650, and in 2004, the Comanche was cancelled, with only the 2 prototypes having been built, both now residing at the US Army Aviation Museum in Alabama. At 11.3 in ground RB, the Comanche fits into a lineup with the M1A1 and the IPM1. 11.3 is in quite a nice spot with the recent BR changes, not often seeing full up tiers. The Comanche sports some good optics and high resolution thermals, as well as a full ballistics computer. When looking at its weapons, the Comanche can carry 2 different missiles, as well as unguided rockets. The unguided rockets are Hydra 70s, and you can carry up to 56, or 24 if you don't take the stub wings. As for your missiles, these consist of the ATAS, which is a Stinger, and the AGM-114B Hellfire. You can carry 2 ATAS per pylon, totaling up to 16, or up to 14 Hellfires, 1 on each inner pylon and 4 on each stub wing. As for the airframe, the Comanche flies really well. It's incredibly nimble and very fast too, allowing you to easily cruise at 300 km an hour. Perhaps the Comanche's most notable feature is its stealth. This is actually modelled in War Thunder, and you'll notice it in battles. Frontally, with the weapons bay retracted and without stub pylons, The Comanche is hard to detect for most non-top tier SPAA, allowing you to engage them without being engaged back. Against aircraft radar of this BR, the Comanche is almost invisible from the front. This is important for the Comanche as it lacks any flares or chaff, meaning that you have to rely on not getting engaged at all. I wouldn't recommend first spawning the Comanche as its Hydra 70 rockets aren't very good for the BR, and you're very liable to get shot down by an early spawn AA, autocannon, or even roof-mounted MG. Instead, I'd recommend bringing a combination of Hellfires and Stingers, depending on the threat environment you find yourself in. If there's a few aircraft already up, I'd recommend bringing some Stingers, but generally you'll want to focus on Hellfires. As for whether to use the stub pylons or not, it's a tough call that you'll have to make. If you're in a down tier and the enemy seems reluctant to bring AA, go for it. I'd recommend putting the Hellfires on them as you can make the best use out of them. If there's AA up, or you're in an up tier, or you just want to err on the side of caution, just bring your internal pylons. With that said, I'd recommend one of these loadouts depending on the situation. You're going to want to stick low, ideally at treetop level, and if possible with terrain behind you to further mask your radar cross-section. As you lack any countermeasures, you're going to want to keep a distance and take advantage of the engagement range afforded to you by your Hellfires. Whilst the stat card says 8 km, I'd recommend 6 to 7 km instead, so that you're not on the absolute edge of your range, while still being out of detection for most SPAA at your BR. If you get engaged by a jet, make use of your Stingers and your cannon. Whilst it may not seem like much, it has great angles and tracking, so the ballistic computer allows you to deal with most aircraft that try to gun you down. Be wary of other helicopters, especially ones such as the Ka-50, as their Vickers are very dangerous to you. Your best measure against them is to break line of sight or ambush from a close range if really necessary. If you're not running stub wings, make sure you have Open Bomb Bay Door in the Aircraft Controls tab bound, as you can use it to keep your radar signature low. If you leave it open, it allows AA to detect you at an extra 1 or 2 km from the front. The cockpit recently received a very nice model, no longer being a placeholder, and its helmet-mounted display is great if you want to play in first person, or use it in simulator battles. As a $50 pack premium in the Gaijin store, the RAH-66 Comanche isn't cheap for most people. It comes with 2,000 Golden Eagles and 15 days of premium time, as well as a number of backups. Whether or not the Comanche is worth buying for you depends on you. Although I personally bought it because of the nostalgia it gave me from playing Arma 3 in my childhood, which was what the intro was based off, I do quite enjoy the Comanche and find it fun to play. It's probably the US's best helicopter at that BR, although the Hellfires only being Bs instead of Ks do offer it a small disadvantage compared to the MH-60L DAP at the same BR, although I feel the stealth and flight model more than make up for it. The US's other premium helicopter is the Greek AH-64A Apache, which costs the same, is also rank 6 and sits at 11.7. The Apache has countermeasures and a greater armament, at the cost of a more sluggish flight model and no stealth, and has the same research rewards multiplier, although a better Silver Lions modifier. Ultimately, if you're ignoring coolness and instead want the best helicopter, it's honestly close between the two, but 11.7 is definitely a rougher matchmaker right now, so you're more likely to see top tier SPAA that will completely cancel you out. And the US mostly lacks an 11.7 lineup, so you'll either have to up tier your tanks or bring it to 12.0. So, considering the BR and the fact that it's unique, I'd recommend the Comanche. And that's it for the Comanche. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, then liking and subscribing would mean a lot to me. While whirlybirds like the Comanche aren't usually the subject of my guides, I thought it would make an interesting break, so if this video does well, expect more in the future. If you'd like to vote on the next video's topic, there'll be a poll in my Discord, link in the description. And that's all from me. I've been girltwink, fly safe.